Okay. All right. Welcome. If you are watching this training video, you're in for a treat. In this video, we're really trying to showcase and share some tips, some verbiage, some skills that can help you in managing your customer base and maintaining a great customer base and building a great business by keeping your customers happy and ongoing. And we have three special guests that are on this call for absolute reason, because they do this month in and month out. And they come from different ranks, different time frames in this business. Karen's up in the Long Island area, 7 months in this business as a premier director. And month after month has a 3,000 PQV or higher, which is consistent with everyone on this call. And then you have Nicole in Iowa, who's been in this business for 18 months, premier director, massive amounts of PQV, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 a month. And you also have Beth Shapiro, NMD, and Beth's been in the business for 3+ years. And to me, the longer your business is mature in this industry, it's even bigger of a feat of keeping that customer base happy. And Beth has always had 3,000, PQV, month after month, year after year, which is just a huge feather to put in her cap. So you've got three incredible people that are going to, share some tips with you guys on how they manage their customer base, right? And what they're doing, from verbiage to organization, to communication. And I want to touch on some of that with all of them, so you guys can take notes. So if you're watching this and you don't have a pencil and a paper, I would totally get one, and take the notes, because really the difference between where you are in terms of watching this and where they are in terms of how they're managing their customer base, how they built it, how they maintained it and retained it, is a lot of times just some simple things of a little bit better of a system of organization, maybe how they're communicating or what they're saying in the verbiage and language that you're using. So you're going to be able to see it firsthand from them, and hopefully you'll notice some of the differences that you have and can adjust and change those differences and start building not only a great customer base, but keeping that customer base, just working smarter versus harder. So to start things off, the first question I want to ask, it's just, I think obviously having the size, volume of customers that you guys have, right? You're talking dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of customers, right? Probably 50 to 100 or more in some cases. How do you organize that? And I guess I'll first throw that to you, Karen. How do you organize your customers on a monthly basis without your head blowing off?
I have a day-by-day planner agenda, and that's really been better for me. I was trying to do it in my phone with reminders or by checking the PC report, and that wasn't enough. So now when you go to the back office and you do a My PC report, if you look over on the right-hand side above the box that prints all your PCs, there's a little tiny arrow, and if you click on the arrow, you can send it all to Excel. So I send it to Excel and I print it. And then I go through and I go in my agenda. Neora sends an email 7 days before their ADO is going to ship. So I always try to beat that email. So I put everybody in for 8 to 10 days before, and I try to chunk it into like 3 or 4 weeks, sometimes twice a week, but I don't do it like the 17th are those people, the 18th are those people, because that I'm spending every day frantically running back and forth between my agenda. So I chunk it into reasonable amounts of time, so everyone's getting a follow-up 8 to 11 days or so, and then I adjust my verbiage based on what type of customer they are. But I check in with them that way, and I go into my agenda, and I also give them a dead date in my agenda to make sure I know, like, there's a list of people at the top that if they haven't answered me, I need to go in and I need to delay them. And I was telling Paul, I have a ghosted me list and a didn't need it early in the month list. And I keep those around the 23rd of the month. So if I need volume at the end of the month, those are the lists I'm going back to. So the ghosted me list is like, oh, what a crazy summer. I'm sure we're so busy. Like, I totally forgot to follow up with some people too, but I didn't hear from you in the beginning of the month, and I just wanted to make sure you don't have an empty bottle. And
so you're saying you have people that ghost you too?
Everybody ghosts.
Okay. Just want to make sure that, for anybody watching, it's not just you, right? Even the top people,
I have the ghosted
even
me,
probably more ghosts.
didn't need early in the month list because they might be getting empty, and especially those didn't need people, I write 10% next to them if they ordered last month, because I'll hit them up around the 25th to the 27th of the month, and I'll remind them that their 10% off is going to expire. Did they want to use that? So that's
Awesome.
would be the different ways.
Beth and Karen, I mean, obviously, I think with the size customer base you have, without having some sort of organizational system, it would be all over the place, right? And so, Beth, you also have a very big customer base too, and you've maintained a customer base now, like I said, talking 3 years. What do you do to keep it all organized?
Well, it's funny to see that because I'm not as organized probably as Karen. I just know my customers very well. Like I take the time to, like, I do make my list at the beginning of the month and I look at it and I see who's going to process when. And so I kind of know in the beginning of the month who I've got to reach out to. And so I look at each person, I look at what they've ordered last month and what they could need this month so that I have an idea of something that I want to suggest to them. But I also, I just know them well. So there are, when I need volume at the end of the month, I know there's people who only order every 3 or 4 months when I'm like, oh, it's been 3 or 4 months. I know they're going to be needing something. And so I'll reach out to them. So I think it really pays to build that relationship because then you can go through each one. And I do. I mean, I print out the list and I go through each person, even if they haven't ordered in 6 months or so. I'm going to approach them.
And so elaborate on that. So you're talking about having a great relationship with them. So when it comes to communicating with your customers, what do you tend to lean towards? Is it different depending on the customers? Does it help build the relationship? Talk to me a little bit about your style of communication.
Well, it's really important to me before they order something, when you're wanting to place an order, to get them on the phone. It was probably the most uncomfortable thing I ever didn't want to do at the beginning. Like texting, I could hide behind my text. But I realized that when I can get them on the phone and they can hear my voice and I can explain things to them, that they feel closer to me. And so I can hear the kind of personality they have. I can hear if they are excited and ready to try it, or I can hear if they're skeptical. And I know how to handle them that way. And so I think for me, that's been a big plus in my business in the last year or so, that I've kind of gotten out of my own way and gotten them on the phone. That's just, and I can talk to each one differently because of that.
Got it. Nicole, I want you to hear your input too on that in terms of what forms of communication are you using for your customers, and is there specific situations where you may do something versus another form of communication?
A lot of the younger customers are on Facebook, most daily, pretty much. So I private message them. I like Beth, I know them personally, I know their story. I know what they're, how they like to be approached. A lot of older people like to talk on the phone. And again, like Beth, that made me uncomfortable because I have spent the last 10 years hiding behind text. That's just kind of where we've gone. But they understand a lot more and are more interested when they hear it from you. They hear your voice. So I do phone, text message, and private messages on Facebook.
Got it.
And then some people, it has to be in person.
Interesting. Awesome. And I'm sure obviously in person, you're able to, go even deeper into those type of conversations and finding out more, maybe opportunities for them to try new products or business opportunities too. I think it's interesting that you both kind of bring up the apprehension of picking up the phone and making a phone call versus texting. And I think that's common. I think probably people that are listening are probably going, I feel the same way, right? But there's some depth to that type of communication. And there's, like you said, I think in both cases, there's certain people that's what they're comfortable with, right? So sometimes we have to remember it's not just about what we're comfortable with, it's about where we got to service our customer base, part of that customer service. So Karen, anything that you do differently or unique that you want to share in terms of how you're communicating or how frequently you're talking to your customer base?
Not me, but it was actually Sam that said to me about using the little voice message where you can send a voice text to people. So sometimes just because people schedules don't match up, or I might have a very short window, like on the side of my kids' games or something, I might send 10 little voice texts to people. those are more how I follow up, not to ask them if they're ordering, but just to, did you get your package yet? Or how are you liking whatever the new thing they ordered last month? I try to make sure they hear my voice on those so they know that I'm excited about whatever it is that they have going on. So that's been a helpful little tool. I didn't realize that I could do that.
The blend of high touch and high tech you guys are using and all, it's not one size fits all. And I think, depending on people's schedule, from what you guys saying, the relationships you may have, and just, the generation of the potential customer, that you may use a different form of communication that's fitting for them, right? So I think obviously probably the biggest question that people want to know, especially, and you guys are doing it incredibly well month after month because you guys have such high PQVs, big customer base, people always ordering, is really, what are you doing either when you set the customer up for the very first time or when it comes to their second ADO? What are you doing to keep the customer to order that second time, that also not only, just throw in there that gives you the Nurium gives back and gives a customer at 10%, but what things are you doing? How are you saying it? Or what verbiage do you go to? Or maybe some tips you can share about keeping that customer and keeping them ordering the same product or different products, but just keep that ADO continue to run. Karen, why don't you tell me, you start that off.
So I almost set that up the first time they order because I tell them right away about the 10% loyalty bonus. And I don't always, oh, sorry, my dogs are barking. I don't always get into it in full detail, but I do set them up with the expectation that if they order again or when they order again, if it's in consecutive months, they get the 10% off. And when I contact them, I've always contacted them at least one time before I contact them about reordering to ask them if they like their new product and how it's going. Then when I contact them the second time, I tell them that their auto delivery option is coming up. I always call it an option instead of an order, and that they have the 10% loyalty discount. And I tell them my most people line. Most people use that to get a backup item on the shelf so they don't get caught with an empty bottle, or to try something new. Has anything caught your eye? Do you want me to set you up with a refill? And awesome. Those seem to get a positive response.
I love it. And like in just specific change of words can really change the perception of how someone's, absorbing that information or that message. So I think that's really
I want to add something. So when somebody orders for the first time, I make sure that they know that they need to give it at least 90 days. So they don't think that they can just buy one bottle and everything, be amazing and perfect. So it's going to take time. It's not instant. Even though some of our products, give instant results, you want to do it the full 90 days at least to see the full effect.
That's a really interesting point, setting the right expectations for that, so to say, maybe trial period, or using that product to really see this, the best results possible. I think setting the right precedent early on probably minimizes people after the 30 days just falling off.
So they might think, if you're just trying to get a quick sale, which you don't want to do that, and you don't tell them that they should give it 90 days, they might think they only need to buy one bottle and never have to use it again. Well, you don't want that, and you don't want to give them that idea because that's not true. So
that's a great point. Great point. Beth, obviously you've had the longest run of keeping customers ordering and having some life for customers. What are things outside of what Nicole and Karen both brought up great points, other things that you think are helpful, and I'll probably come back to you guys on this too, what do you think people are maybe potentially doing wrong?
Okay, so being in it about 4 years, in the beginning when I first started, we were always putting people on every other month, on bi-monthly. And I think that's one thing that we kind of got away from. So I do have people that are on every other month. And the way I set that up is I tell them, I don't want you to run out of this product. I know you're going to love it. So I'll follow up with you in 3 weeks to see how you're doing. I'd hate to turn, this option of auto delivery off until we know how you're liking it, because you don't want to run out and it'll take, 5 to 6 business days to come. So I always try to have them have the first 2 months so that we focus on Nurium Gives Back, Neora Gives Back, just for us, right? Because I think our focus has not been on that lately. So, and then at that point, we'll see how they're running with their product. And if they still have a lot left, then we'll put them on a bi-monthly plan. And that will keep people for years. And I think, it's an important part of it.
Yeah, I mean, it brings back, when I think about when we started too, I mean, that was, I mean, I'd say 90% of our customers were on an every other month. Now, granted, all the products that we had back in those days were products that you could run out a month and a half, 2 months, night cream, day cream, and firm. Now, we have a lot of products that are 30 days, whether it's the wellness line or, your eye patches are a little bit different that are, you may not have that luxury, but there are some products depending on how frequently someone uses them, how many pumps they use. I know I can go through a night cream or a day cream bottle pretty close to 2 months because I'm mixing a LumaBoost in there too. So I'm only using 2 or 3 pumps of that, 2 or 3 pumps of a LumaBoost too. So some things do give you a longer runway, which is a good point to bring up, that you can sometimes go back too early and they just feel like I still got a full bottle. And instead of canceling your order, going, you know what? Let's just set it up let's push it off and do it every other month, and I'll follow up with you. Because like even Karen was saying, you don't want to run out, but if they haven't really used it as soon as they got it and they weren't consistent with it, there is a high probability that it's not they don't like it, they just don't need another bottle yet because they're not even a quarter into theirs, right? So I think presenting that as an alternative option or another product, certainly can make a big difference.
Also, a lot of people have the false assumption that you have to order if you have an ADO, you have to order the same thing every month. So it's really important to tell them you can switch it in and out. So if you need a night cream every month, but you only need eye serum or face wash every 3 months, because those two seem to last forever, you don't have to get the same thing every month. A lot of people don't know that.
Suggesting. Yeah, I mean, you look at the average customer probably uses 1 or 2 of the 14 products available, and I would say probably a majority of them don't even know yet what the other products are, so suggesting those other products is powerful. Beth, I think you had another comment you're going to put on there?
Yep, and because of the way we do things now, if you do have someone on bi-monthly, you can offer them in that in-between months something else and say, look, you're going to get 10% off if you want to try something new, and you're going to get 10% off your next order as well. Right?
Yeah, good point.
Double bonus. So,
Karen, anything you want to throw in there too?
What Beth said about the NGB points, I always tell them, because I want those NGB points and I want a big second month order, I really stress the whole having the backup on the shelf. And then I usually say to them, let me know when you open your second bottle, because then I'll know about how long it's going to be before you need it, and we can figure out the plan for when you're going to order again. So then I have an idea of, are they in every 2 month? Are they in every 3 month? And then I'll figure out what products I'm going to suggest. And like you had asked that, but I'll say to them just in one of those little follow-up texts, and let me tell you about what I've been loving so much lately. And it might not always be the same thing. It'll be something that I think would be a good fit for them. But that's usually how I bring it up. Or if we have a new product, it's easy to bring it up.
I like I like that way. I saw that when you typed that out, and I was like, oh, that's a fun way of bringing it up, is let me tell you about my favorite new product that I'm really, whatever, right?
Whatever.
It's kind of a great way, more of a testimonial type of suggestive selling that you're using there. And I want to go back on the Neora gives back, right? Because those products, a lot of people are using those additional products to have more samples. Some use it for personal use, but some even use it for incentives and rewards. So what things are, without taking too much time, what are some things you do to create loyalty to your customers, your customers that are, constantly ordering? What are some things that you'll do just to reward them or acknowledge that loyalty and keep them locked into you?
So I take those products that we get back in NGB, and I make a monthly basket, and I add other little trinkets into it. And every time one of my customers order, I enter them into my monthly basket. And the more that they order, the more times they get entered. And I think that my customers look forward to that, because there's 2, 3 full-size products in it. And I change it up every month. And then I just use an app on my phone. When the day that they order, I put them into the app, and then at the first of every month, my app selects the winner, and then I announce it, and I think they really appreciate that.
Awesome. Karen, what do you do? Anything similar or different?
I usually raffle off just one product. Like this month, it's eye serum, and I start telling them about it in the beginning of the month, and sometimes I tell them about it in my follow-up emails. In my follow-up texts, if I want them to place an order. I tell them that that's my raffle. I give away a lot of little stuff too. Like either samples to people of stuff that they haven't tried, or eye patches with the big orders, things like that. Just little I'll write them little thank you cards. I sent a collagen mask to someone because she bought the skincare set and the firm. So I just sent her a collagen mask and said thank you. Things like that. I try to but I don't necessarily publicize it to everybody that I'm doing it.
Yeah.
I kind of pick and choose who I do it once in a while. And I have a separate group on Facebook. It's like a private group for my customers. So sometimes I'll do a raffle or a giveaway in there where nobody else sees it. It's not for new customers, it's for the existing customers. And they seem to like that too.
Awesome. Good. That's a good little feature. Beth, and yourself?
I generally, when I have customers who have been with me a couple years or more, I'll send them, if we have a new product that comes out, I'll send them one of the new products just as a thank you. Nice product.
Now, you talk about writing letters. I mean, that's something that Sam's done, over 5 years, is every once in a while just writing a handwritten letter or card to them. And, it's always, you get one of those, it's tough to decide, hey, I'm not going to order anymore. I think just acknowledging their loyalty, thanking them for their support, all that stuff goes a long ways. So spending a little bit of time doing that, I think, is huge. Real quick, so many of us, before we became a brand partner, really just came to get the products, right? And then maybe we're like, we want to get these products for free, and eventually became brand partners, and then, the journey began. So when and how do you I present that opportunity? And Beth, I'll let you start off on that one.
Okay, because I just did it today. She sent me a message, and usually I follow up with people, but she sent me a message that I use the products, and people were noticing my skin, and I really love the chews. And I said, that's awesome. I said, what are you, based on what you tried, what are you thinking you'd like to try to order this one? And she said, well, I'll know more when I get back from my vacation, what I like, what my funds are. And I said, great. I said, so you'll get 10% off since you ordered something last month. But if you're wanting to get the products free, we need to talk about that. So I always bring it up in the beginning, like after they've tried something, or, because then
awesome. Karen, how about yourself?
I will usually from the very beginning too. I let them know either that my story was about how I found Neuro was because I wanted to get them for free. So I just put that seed in there. Or when people ask me pricing, I usually tell them the retail price is whatever. When you order it from me, you get it for whatever. Or I can tell you how to get them for free. And then sometimes they bite on that and they ask me, or sometimes they're just like, I'm not going to do that. And I'm like, I'll talk to you in a few more months. And then I'll hit them up again if they're a regular customer about
And you've seen, even though they've said no once before, that maybe later down the road that decision may change.
That's everybody says no, and then they do it. Well, not everybody follows up and does it, but I told my upline no for a good 6 months before I did anything. And
I remember
so
your brand partner story.
Yeah, I'm like, no means not now, and I'm your biggest testimony of that myself.
I think that's a huge point to bring up, though. It's not that, don't let the first no be the last no, right? Just times change for people, perspectives change, all that stuff. So professionally be persistent and, offer it every so often, I think is a really good point. I'm glad it came out. Nicole, ending with you, anything unique or something that has been mentioned that you do to present that opportunity at a certain point with a customer?
When I see people sharing their own result photos or, referring their friends to me, that's when I approach them and I'm like, you're already doing it. Why not get your product for free? And then if a customer consecutively orders, $200, $300, $400 worth of stuff, then I contact them and I'm like, hey, you're getting all this every month and this is how much you're spending. You could be getting it for free.
I love it. Love it. All right. Well, listen, that's the questions we wanted to get to. I appreciate you guys all obviously taking the time to share your tips, your secrets, the things that help you guys have just a healthy customer base month after month after month, which is so important because we have incredible products. And if we set the right expectations and allow people to use them for a period of time, they're going to love it, right? But it's all about setting it up properly in the correct way and following up in the proper manner. And then you're going to have customers like you guys have, all have, our lifers. People just continue to order over and over and over again because they really got to use a product long enough to fall in love with it and see those results. And not only is that a very joyous, happy thing to see as a brand partner, but it also changes your check, right? Also changes the money that you're making on a monthly basis, and and the free products that you're earning that you can reinvest into your business and reinvest in your team. There's so many positives to it. So I really appreciate you guys all taking the time this evening to share those tips with others. And for those watching, I hope hopefully you got as much as I did just hearing these girls, that you can go back and start applying these different things, so you can also have a great customer base month after month, earning you a lot of extra money and making people very happy with the results they're getting. And some of them, will be turning into people on your team too. So on that note, thank you so much, everybody. Thanks for watching. Ladies, I can't thank you guys enough for you taking the time. So good night, everybody. Bye. Guys. Thank you.